get ready because we're taking a deep dive into the world of idioms today.
Idioms.
Yeah, you guys sent in a ton of material about them. And honestly, I'm fascinated already.
Yeah.
There's so much history and culture
Absolutely.
tacked into these little phrases we use every day.
Like little time capsules.
Well, exactly.
Giving us a glimpse into the past.
So can we start by clarifying what an idiom even is?
Sure.
I mean, we use them all the time.
Yeah.
But do we really know what they are?
Well, an idiom is a group of words.
Okay.
Where the meaning isn't obvious.
Right.
From just the individual words.
Yeah.
So you can't really understand it if you don't know the expression.
Right, like kick the bucket.
Exactly.
Nobody's actually kicking any buckets.
No.
So are idioms unique to English?
That's a good question. Or every language has them.
Do other languages have them too?
Every language has its own unique idioms.
Wow.
Reflecting its own cultural journey.
So like when we say it's raining cats and dogs,
Right.
What might another language say?
The Japanese might say monkey weather.
Monkey weather.
Same meaning.
Wow.
Different cultural imagery.
So they're kind of like cultural clues.
Exactly.
Okay, so how about we unlock a few of those clues?
Sure.
What about break the ice?
Break the ice.
We use that one to talk about,
Yeah.
making people feel more comfortable in a social situation.
Right. Easing that initial tension.
Exactly.
But the origin
Yeah.
is way more literal.
Okay.
Think about frozen rivers and massive ships
Mm.
back in the 1600s.
Right.
Smaller boats would be sent out
Yeah.
to literally break up the ice.
Oh, wow.
To clear a path for those big ships.
So breaking the ice went from
Yeah.
like a potentially life or death situation
You got it.
to just starting a conversation at a party.
Amazing how the meaning changed.
That's incredible.
Speaking of revealing things,
Okay.
how about spill the beans?
Spill the beans.
Today, it means to let a secret slip.
Oh, I've definitely been guilty of that one.
But the story behind it
What's the story behind it?
might take us all the way back to ancient Greece,
Wow.
where they used beans for voting.
Really?
White beans for yes,
Yeah.
black beans for no.
Huh.
So if you accidentally spilled the beans,
Literally?
literally spilled the beans,
Wow.
well, everyone knew how you voted.
That's a high-stakes bean spill.
That is high stakes.
It makes you think about how even simple actions
Absolutely.
can have huge consequences.
Huge consequence.
Just like revealing a secret.
Right.
Okay, let's do another one.
All right.
What about bite the bullet?
Bite the bullet.
That one's about like facing a challenge head on.
Yes.
Even if it's unpleasant.
Exactly.
Like finally cleaning out that overflowing closet.
But imagine having to bite a bullet during surgery
Ooh.
back in the 1800s.
Oh, no.
Before anesthesia,
Oh.
surgeons would give patients a bullet to bite on
Really?
to help them endure the pain.
Wow.
That puts a whole new spin on biting the bullet.
That's a tough bullet to bite.
It is.
Makes you think about how much medical practices have advanced.
Absolutely. And the resilience of people back
Yeah,
then.
hell yes.
So sometimes the pain we face
Right.
is less physical
Yeah.
and more emotional.
Okay.
Like when we're feeling down,
Okay.
that's when we might say we're under the weather.
Under the weather.
Under the weather.
I always thought it was a cute way of saying you don't feel great.
Right.
But I bet there's more to it.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more to it.
Okay.
This one takes us back to the high seas.
Okay.
In the 1800s,
Uh-huh.
sailors who were feeling seasick
Ooh.
would go below deck,
Hmm.
literally putting themselves under the weather.
They were trying to shield themselves
Yeah.
from the very thing that was making them sick.
That's right.
So a phrase that comes from the hardships of seafaring life
Yeah.
is now a common way to describe feeling ill.
That's the beauty of language.
It really is.
It adapts and changes over time.
So we've uncovered some interesting origins here.
Yeah.
But what I'm really curious about
Yeah.
is how these idioms connect to broader cultural trends.
I think that's a great point.
I mean, we're talking about phrases that have been around for centuries.
Exactly.
Do they tell us something bigger about the societies that created them?
They do.
Okay.
Idioms are like cultural fingerprints.
Okay.
They reveal a society's values,
Mm-hmm.
historical events, even its sense of humor.
Okay.
So they're not just random phrases.
Right.
They're threads woven into a culture's story.
Like cross the Rubicon.
Perfect example.
It has such a historical weight to it.
It comes from Julius Caesar,
Oh, right.
crossing the Rubicon River with his army,
And that meant,
declaring war on Rome.
wow.
And so to this day,
Yeah.
crossing the Rubicon means making a bold and irreversible decision.
So we're carrying bits of ancient Rome
We are.
in our everyday speech.
Exactly.
And it's not just historical events, right? You mentioned that idioms can reflect cultural practices, too.
Like Achilles' heel,
Achilles' heel.
a weakness,
Okay.
a vulnerability.
Right.
And it comes directly from Greek mythology.
Yes.
Achilles, the legendary warrior,
Uh-huh.
invulnerable except for his heel.
Right.
So these examples show
Yeah.
how idioms preserve these cultural narratives.
It's like little keys
Yeah.
that unlock these deeper layers of meaning.
That's a great way to put it.
This has been an incredible journey so far,
It has been fun.
but I'm ready to decode even more.
Okay.
What other fascinating idioms do you have for us?
Let's see. Okay, how about letting the cat out of the bag?
Letting the cat out of the bag.
It means revealing a secret.
Right. Often accidentally.
Yeah, usually by mistake.
It paints such a vivid picture.
It does.
What's the story there?
So the exact origin is a little unclear,
Okay.
but one theory takes us back to medieval markets.
Medieval market.
Yeah, imagine you're at a market
Okay.
and you want to buy a piglet, but it's in a bag.
Okay.
And a dishonest seller
Oh.
swaps it out for a cat.
So letting the cat out of the bag.
Expose the deception.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a time when
Yeah.
trust and reputation
Uh-huh.
were really important,
Right.
and dishonesty had serious consequences.
It's like a reminder to be careful
Yes,
who you trust,
exactly.
even today.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about burning the midnight oil?
Burning the midnight oil.
Staying up late, working hard.
Yeah,
But why oil?
this one takes us back
Okay.
to the days before electricity,
Oh, right.
when people use oil lamps
Okay.
to light their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were working late into the night,
Yeah.
you were literally burning the midnight oil.
Wow. So people were pulling all-nighters.
They were.
Even back then.
Hard work and dedication.
It's timeless.
Timeless.
Okay, how about something a little more lighthearted?
Okay.
What about rule of thumb?
Rule of thumb.
We use that to describe
Yeah.
like a general guideline or principle.
Right.
Right. Something practical, but not a hard and fast rule.
Exactly.
But why thumb?
There are actually a few theories about this one.
Oh, really?
One popular one is that it came from carpenters.
Carpenters.
Yeah, they used their thumbs
Uh-huh.
to estimate measurements.
Okay.
After all, the length of a thumb
Yeah.
is about an inch.
Right.
So it's about using what's available.
That's a good point.
It's a practical tool.
Sometimes we need more than just a rule of thumb, though.
That's true.
Sometimes we have to take action.
Right.
That's where the ball is in your court comes in.
Exactly.
So this one is borrowed from tennis.
Yes.
It means it's someone else's turn
Right.
to make a decision or take action.
Like in a tennis match,
Yeah.
the ball literally changes courts
Right.
after each serve.
Okay, I've done my part. Now it's up to you.
That's right.
It's a clear passing of responsibility,
It is.
like throw in the towel.
Yes.
That one's about giving up.
Giving up, admitting defeat.
And that one comes from boxing,
It does.
where they literally throw a towel in the ring
Yeah.
to signal surrender.
Exactly.
It's interesting how these phrases from specific activities
Yeah.
can take on a broader meaning.
It is fascinating.
Makes you wonder if any phrases we use today
Yeah.
will become idioms in the future.
That's a good question.
Language is always evolving.
That's right.
We've covered quite a few idioms.
Yeah.
Some highlight our struggles.
Like bite the bullet.
Yeah, and others
Yeah.
speak to our practicality.
Like rule of thumb.
Like rule of thumb.
Exactly.
And as we go deeper,
Yeah.
we're going to uncover even more insights.
Let's keep going.
So some idioms have these lighthearted origins,
Yeah.
while others are a bit more dramatic.
Bit darker.
Like kick the bucket, kind of
Yeah.
a blunt way to talk about death.
It is.
What's the story there?
Well, the origin of that one is a bit of a mystery.
Okay.
There are a few theories.
Mm-hmm.
One is pretty grim.
Okay.
It suggests it might be connected to suicide, where a person would stand on an overturned bucket
Yeah.
with a noose around their neck
Oh, wow.
and then kick the bucket away.
That's a pretty intense image.
It is.
Are there any other explanations
There are,
that aren't quite so morbid?
let's see,
Okay.
another theory connects it to slaughtering pigs.
Pigs.
Yeah. After being killed,
Uh-huh.
they would be hung by their feet
Okay.
on a wooden frame called a bucket beam.
A bucket beam.
And their legs would sometimes twitch or
Mm.
kick as they died.
So not the most pleasant dinner table conversation.
No, not really.
But it shows how language can reflect
Yeah.
even the difficult parts of life.
Absolutely.
And even though the origin might be gruesome,
Yeah.
the idiom itself, right?
Has become more casual way
Uh-huh.
to refer to death.
Speaking of reflecting reality,
Yeah.
what about an idiom that speaks to a universal experience?
Okay.
Something being outrageously expensive.
Right.
Cost an arm and a leg.
Cost an arm and a leg, a classic.
What's the story behind that one?
The origin might surprise you.
Okay.
It likely comes from 18th century portrait painting.
Portrait paint?
Having your portrait done back then
Yeah.
was a real luxury.
Yeah.
And the price often depended on how much of the body was shown.
So a full-length portrait
So
showing both arms and legs.
would have been the priciest.
That makes sense.
So it's fascinating how a phrase from the art world centuries ago still resonates today.
As we grapple with the cost of everything,
Exactly.
it's like those artists had a premonition about inflation.
Maybe they did.
You know, as we talk about the cost of things,
Yeah.
it makes me think about the cost of pushing ourselves too hard.
Right.
Burning the candle at both ends.
Burning the candle at both ends.
Feeling stretched thin.
That's a good one.
What's that one about?
This one goes back to when candles
Okay.
were the main source of light.
Uh-huh.
So if you burn a candle at both ends, you were trying to get more light,
Right.
but you'd burn through it much faster.
It's like a perfect analogy for burnout.
It is.
It's a reminder from centuries ago
Yeah.
about the importance of balance.
And pacing ourselves.
This deep dive has been incredible.
It has.
We've uncovered hidden histories,
We have.
explored cultural connections,
Absolutely.
even learned a bit about pig slaughtering
Like that?
along the way.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly,
Okay.
we've gained a deeper appreciation
Yes.
for the power of language.
Idioms are more than just quirky sayings.
Right.
They're threads woven into human history,
Yeah.
reflecting our experiences, our values,
Yeah.
even our sense of humor.
And they remind us
Yeah.
that even though languages and cultures differ,
Yeah.
we share a common human experience.
We do.
So next time you hear someone say
Yep.
they're going to bite the bullet or that something cost them an arm and a leg,
Exactly.
take a moment to
Yeah.
appreciate the stories behind those phrases.
You might be surprised
You might be surprised.
at what you discover.
And remember,
Yeah.
language is always evolving.
It is.
So keep an ear out
Right.
for new phrases
Yeah.
that are shaping how we communicate.
That's a great point.
Maybe you'll coin the next great idiom.
Maybe.
That's a thought-provoking challenge to leave us with.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was fun.
Until next time, happy decoding.
All right, so let's talk about idioms.
Oh.
You know, we use them every day.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, piece of cake, spill the beans, kick the bucket.
Uh-huh.
But have you ever, like, stopped and thought about
Yeah.
how strange they sound?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
raining cats and dogs. Like,
Yeah.
who comes up with this stuff?
Well, what's interesting is that these seemingly nonsensical phrases offer a glimpse into our shared history and cultural evolution.
Yeah.
They're like these linguistic fossils preserving traces of ancient customs,
Okay.
beliefs, and even humor.
That's a great way to put it, linguistic fossils.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So for this deep dive, we're going to kind of excavate some of these fossilized phrases,
Okay.
uncovering not just their meanings, but the often surprising stories behind them.
Right.
We're going to find out why spilled the beans might have something to do with ancient Greek elections
Interesting.
and explore whether cost an arm and a leg really originated from, like, the price of portrait paintings.
Uh-huh.
And maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
we'll uncover the real reason why we say kick the bucket when, well, you know,
It's going to be a fascinating journey through the evolution of language.
I'm excited.
By the end, you'll be seeing those everyday phrases in a whole new light.
Okay, so before we get lost in a rabbit hole of idiom origins,
Yeah.
let's make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure.
What exactly is an idiom?
An idiom is a phrase that has a figurative meaning different from the literal meanings of the individual words.
Okay,
It's like a secret code embedded in language,
gotcha.
one that you need to learn in order to fully understand the message.
So, piece of cake doesn't involve any actual cake,
Thankfully not.
but it's a way of saying something is easy, right?
Precisely.
Okay,
Idioms are all about conveying a lot of meaning in a concise and often colorful way.
okay.
They allow us to tap into shared cultural knowledge and add depth and nuance to our communication.
It's like using a shortcut to express a complex idea,
Right.
but a shortcut that's steeped in history and cultural context.
Ex-
I'm starting to see why these linguistic fossils are so intriguing.
And one of the things that makes idioms so fascinating is that they exist in almost every language,
Oh, wow.
often with unique variations that reflect different cultural perspectives.
Right,
For example, in English, we say to not see the forest for the trees,
Right.
But in German, they say to have tomatoes on one's eyes.
Potatoes on one's eyes? That's hilarious.
It is quite a vivid image, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's part of the appeal of idioms.
I see.
They create these memorable associations that make language more engaging and entertaining.
Okay, I'm ready to start digging into some specific examples.
Right.
Where do you want to begin our excavation?
Let's start with a category that's close to everyone's heart,
Okay.
or at least their stomach.
Okay.
Idioms related to food.
Perfect.
Right.
Food idioms always seem to be extra quirky and unexpected.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
Let's take spill the beans, for instance.
Okay.
It simply means to reveal a secret. But its origins are far more intriguing.
Okay.
It's believed to be connected to ancient Greek voting practices,
Real.
where beans were used to cast votes.
Hold on, are you telling me that spill the beans goes all the way back to ancient Greece?
It does.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So if you accidentally spilled your beans, you were literally revealing your vote, right?
precisely.
Wow.
It's a fascinating example of how seemingly simple phrases can carry centuries of history within them.
It's like holding a tiny piece of ancient Greece in your mouth every time you say spill the beans.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, I need to hear the story behind piece of cake now.
Okay.
It's such a common phrase, but I have no idea where it comes from.
This one is a bit more recent.
Okay.
Likely originating in the late 19th century during the popularity of cakewalks.
Cake walks.
Yeah, these were competitions,
Okay.
primarily held in African American communities,
Huh?
where couples would strut their stuff vying for a prize.
Okay.
You guessed it, a cake.
So winning a cakewalk was supposed to be easy. Hence the phrase, piece of cake.
Exactly.
Okay.
The idiom reflects the light-hearted, celebratory nature of these events,
I see.
where skillful movement and a bit of flair could earn you a sweet reward.
It's incredible how a simple phrase can transport us back to a specific time and place,
Yeah.
conjuring up images of cakewalks and the people who made them so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move beyond the delicious world of food idioms and explore some phrases related to slightly less appetizing topic.
Okay. Work.
An excellent transition.
Yeah.
After all, work is a universal experience.
Oh, yes, it is.
And it's no surprise that it has inspired a rich tapestry of idiomatic expressions.
Okay.
Let's start with burning the midnight oil.
Ooh, I know this one all too well.
Mm-hmm.
It paints such a vivid picture of someone working late into the night,
Right.
fueled by caffeine and sheer determination.
Yeah.
But what does it tell us about how work was viewed in the past?
Well, as you mentioned, it evokes a time before electricity.
When working late meant literally burning oil lamps to illuminate the darkness,
Wow.
it suggests a level of dedication,
Yeah.
perhaps even a romanticized view of long hours and tireless effort.
So in a way, it reflects a time when hard work was seen as a virtue in itself,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the time of day or the impact on one's personal life.
Right.
Interesting how a simple phrase can reveal so much about cultural attitudes towards work.
Precisely.
And it raises the question of whether this idiom still resonates with us today,
Yeah.
in a world where the boundaries between work and life are increasingly blurred.
Right.
Do we still glorify burning the midnight oil?
Yeah.
Or are we moving towards a more balanced approach to work and well-being?
It's a good question.
I think that's a question for our listeners to ponder.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself burning the midnight oil?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, do you see it as a badge of honor, a necessity,
Right.
or a sign that something needs to change?
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
But let's move on to another work-related idiom that's perhaps even more revealing about our cultural attitudes.
Okay.
Climbing the corporate ladder.
This one seems to suggest a very linear path to success,
Yeah.
with each rung representing a promotion or a step up in power. But is that really how careers work in today's world?
That's a great question.
Right.
The idiom implies a hierarchical structure, a clear path to the top.
Yeah.
But in reality, career trajectories are often much more fluid and unpredictable.
It's more like navigating a jungle gym than climbing a ladder.
Right?
You can move in different directions, try different roles, and still find success.
Exactly.
So maybe climbing the corporate ladder is an idiom in need of an update.
Maybe.
Or perhaps it highlights a disconnect between our language and the realities of modern work life.
Maybe.
I'm curious to hear our listeners' perspectives on this one as well.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like you're climbing a ladder?
Right.
Or is there a better metaphor that captures your career journey?
Good question.
Let us know.
But let's move on from the world of work with its ladders and late nights and explore some idioms inspired by the natural world.
Okay, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by how language draws inspiration from nature.
Mm-hmm.
What's first on our nature walk?
Let's start with when it rains, it pours.
Ah, yes, the classic expression of misfortune piling up.
Yeah, right.
It's like when you're already having a bad day, and then you spill coffee on your shirt, and then you miss your bus, and suddenly it feels like the universe is conspiring against you.
Yeah.
But where does this idea come from?
Yeah.
Did people centuries ago really think that bad luck arrived in a downpour?
It might surprise you to learn that this seemingly timeless phrase is actually quite recent.
Oh,
And its origins are not in ancient wisdom, but in a rather unexpected source.
okay.
A 20th century salt advertisement.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Salt, as in the stuff we sprinkle on our food.
that's right.
Wow.
Apparently salt was prone to clumping in humid weather. So when it rained, it really did pour out of the container.
Oh, okay.
The advertising campaign capitalized on this inconvenience, turning it into a catchy slogan that resonated with people's experiences of misfortune.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love how a simple phrase can be traced back to such an unexpected source.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder how many other seemingly profound sayings have mundane origins.
It's a good reminder to never take anything at face value,
Right.
even those expressions that sound like ancient wisdom.
Okay, I'm ready for another nature-inspired idiom.
All right.
What else do we have in our linguistic garden?
How about a storm in a teacup?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Hmm.
I always imagine a tiny little tempest brewing in a delicate china cup.
Yeah.
It seems so dramatic for such a small space.
Right.
But when we use this phrase, we're usually talking about someone overreacting to something insignificant, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a way of minimizing a problem, suggesting that the reaction is disproportionate to the actual event. It can be a helpful reminder to keep things in perspective,
Yeah,
but it can also be used to dismiss legitimate concerns.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between using a storm in a teacup to encourage calmness and using it to invalidate someone's feelings.
Exactly.
It all comes down to context, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of idioms.
Yeah.
They invite us to think critically about language and how we use it.
Right.
They're not just quirky phrases.
Yeah.
They're reflections of our cultural values and perspectives.
This deep dive is already changing the way I think about the phrases I use every day.
Good.
It's like I'm seeing them with fresh eyes, recognizing the history and meaning woven into each word.
That's what we hope to achieve with this deep dive.
Yeah.
By the end, you'll have a whole new appreciation for the hidden depths of seemingly simple sayings.
I'm definitely hooked.
Okay.
What other fascinating linguistic fossils are waiting to be unearthed?
Well, now that we've kind of explored idioms rooted in like food and work,
Yeah.
let's venture into the realm of human emotions and experiences.
Ooh, this sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by how language reflects the full spectrum of human emotions, from joy and excitement to fear and frustration.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And some of the most powerful idioms are those that capture those intense moments of feeling trapped,
Right.
challenged, or even triumphant.
Okay.
Let's start with one that evokes a sense of being caught red-handed, so to speak.
Okay, I'm picturing a scene from a detective movie.
Yeah.
The culprit, frozen in place, evidence scattered around them.
Right.
But caught red-handed isn't just a cinematic cliche, is it?
No, it's not.
Where does this vivid phrase come from?
It's actually quite a gruesome origin.
Oh.
It's believed to have come from an old Scottish law
Okay.
where if someone was caught with blood on their hands after committing a crime, they were considered guilty without question.
Wow, so there was no need for a jury or a trial?
Right.
The blood was the ultimate proof. It's a powerful reminder that actions have consequences.
Yes,
And sometimes those consequences leave a very visible mark.
indeed.
And that sense of inescapability of being caught with undeniable evidence
Yeah.
is something that resonates with us even today.
Right.
Even if we're not talking about literal crimes.
Yeah.
It's like when you tell a lie and then get caught out immediately,
Right.
there's no point in denying it.
Yeah.
The evidence is right there,
Mm-hmm.
metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
Okay, what about an idiom that captures that feeling of being stuck between two equally unpleasant options?
Oh, okay.
Like when you're between a rock and a hard place.
Ah, yes, the classic dilemma.
Right.
That one uses a very visceral image to convey the sense of being trapped with no easy way out.
It's like no matter which path you choose, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But where did this imagery come from?
Mm.
Was someone literally stuck between a rock and a hard place?
The origin is thought to be related to mining.
Oh, okay.
Imagine a miner working in a narrow tunnel with a massive rock above
Yeah.
and the unyielding earth below. No matter which way they turn,
Uh-huh.
they're facing danger.
It's a chilling image,
It is.
and one that captures that feeling of being trapped by circumstances beyond your control.
Mm.
I guess even those of us who've never been in a mine
Hmm.
can relate to that sense of being stuck in a difficult situation with no easy answers.
Absolutely.
And while it's not a pleasant feeling,
Right.
there's a certain power in recognizing that it's a common human experience.
Yeah.
We all face those moments when we feel like we're between a rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps acknowledging that can be a comfort in itself.
It can be.
It's a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm ready to move on to some idioms that offer a more positive and hopeful perspective.
Okay.
We need a little bit of sunshine after all that rock and hard place talk.
I agree.
What do you have for us?
Let's start with one that encourages proactivity and seizing opportunities.
Okay.
The early bird gets the worm.
Ah, yes, the classic motto for productivity.
Right.
It always makes me want to set my alarm a little earlier,
Yeah.
just in case there are any worms waiting to be caught.
Right.
But seriously, where does this saying come from?
Mm-hmm.
Did someone actually observe early birds having more success in worm catching?
While the exact origin is unknown,
Okay.
it's likely a proverb that has been passed down through generations,
Right.
reflecting the observation that those who are prepared and take action early often have an advantage.
It's a timeless message, isn't it?
It is.
Whether we're talking about literal worms or metaphorical opportunities,
Right.
being proactive and seizing the moment can make all the difference.
Indeed.
But sometimes, no matter how early we rise or
Right.
how diligently we work,
Right.
we still have to wait patiently for things to unfold.
Mm-hmm.
And for those occasions,
Yeah.
we have the idiom, once in a blue moon.
Ooh, I like that one.
It's so poetic and evocative.
It is.
It conjures up images of a rare and magical celestial event.
Mm.
But is there any truth to it?
Yeah.
Does the moon ever actually turn blue?
While the moon doesn't actually change color,
Yeah.
the phrase does refer to a real astronomical phenomenon.
Oh, really?
A blue moon is the second full moon that occurs within a single calendar month, a relatively rare occurrence.
So it's not just a poetic expression.
Yeah.
It's rooted in science.
It is.
I love how idioms weave together language, culture, and even astronomy.
Uh-huh.
It's like each phrase is a little window into the interconnectedness of knowledge.
Exactly.
And speaking of windows, let's shift our focus now to idioms that deal with communication itself.
Okay.
After all, we're exploring these phrases through language.
Yeah.
So it's only fitting that we delve into how language itself is used figuratively.
Makes sense.
Like we're going meta with our idiom exploration.
Right.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into the world of communication idioms.
All right.
What do you have for us?
Let's start with one that's all about indirectness.
Okay.
Beat around the bush.
Ooh, I know this one all too well.
Uh-huh.
It's like when you're trying to avoid saying something directly,
Right.
maybe because it's awkward or you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings.
Exactly.
But why the bush?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with communication?
The origin is thought to be related to hunting practices.
Oh,
Imagine beaters trying to flush out game from the bushes.
right.
They would circle around,
Yeah.
making noise and creating a disturbance
Mhm.
without directly confronting the animal.
So it's like we're trying to flesh out the truth
Right.
or the main point of the conversation
Yeah.
without actually addressing it head on.
Exactly.
Just circling around it,
Mhm.
creating a lot of noise,
Right. Yeah.
but not really getting to the heart of the matter.
Precisely.
And while beating around the bush can sometimes be a way of being tactful or sensitive,
Yeah.
it can also be a way of avoiding responsibility or clarity.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that clear communication often requires directness and honesty.
It does.
Okay, that's a good lesson to keep in mind.
Yeah.
What about an idiom that's all about getting the most reliable information?
Okay.
You know, like hearing something straight from the horse's mouth.
Ah, yes. The ultimate source of truth. At least according to this idiom.
I hope so.
It implies getting information directly from the person who has firsthand knowledge
Mm-hmm.
without any intermediaries or secondhand accounts.
It's like going straight to the expert,
Yeah,
the person who's been there and done that.
right.
But why the horse's mouth?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with reliable information?
The origin is thought to come from the world of horse racing.
Okay.
Imagine trying to assess a horse's condition and chances of winning.
Okay.
Who would have the most accurate information?
Well, I guess it would be the people who work with the horse every day,
Mm-hmm.
the stable hand, the jockey, the trainer.
Right.
They'd be able to see firsthand how the horse is performing, how it's eating, how it's responding to training.
Exactly.
They'd have the inside scoop,
Yeah.
the unfiltered truth straight from the source.
Yeah.
Or in this case, the horse's mouth.
Exactly.
It's a great reminder that in a world of information overload and misinformation, it's more important than ever to be able to identify and rely on credible sources.
Yeah.
We need to be discerning listeners,
Mm-hmm.
always questioning the information we receive and seeking out the most reliable sources.
Wise words indeed.
Thank you.
And speaking of time and information, let's shift our focus now to idioms that deal with those slippery concepts.
Okay. I'm ready to time travel through the world of idioms.
Yeah, right.
What do we have on our linguistic itinerary?
Let's start with one that captures the feeling of being completely absorbed in an enjoyable activity.
Oh, yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, I know this one all too well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you're engrossed in a good book or deep in conversation with a friend,
Yeah.
and suddenly hours have passed without you even noticing.
Right.
It's like time itself speeds up when we're truly engaged.
Precisely.
The idiom highlights how our perception of time is subjective and can be influenced by our emotional state and level of engagement.
Right.
When we're having fun, we're not focused on the clock, so time seems to slip away more quickly.
It does.
It's almost as if our enjoyment stretches time, allowing us to pack more experience into a shorter period.
An interesting way to put it.
But on the flip side, we have the idiom, a washed pot never boils.
Yes.
This one captures that feeling of impatience and frustration
Mm-hmm.
when we're anxiously awaiting something.
Right.
Ooh, yes. I've definitely experienced this one.
Uh-huh.
It's like when you're waiting for that pot of water to boil for pasta and you keep checking it every few seconds.
Right.
But it seems to take forever.
Yeah.
It's like our impatience actually slows down time.
Precisely.
The idiom suggests that focusing too intently on something can actually make it seem like it's taking longer.
It can?
It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to deal with impatience is to shift our focus,
Yeah.
distract ourselves, and let time unfold naturally.
It is.
It's a lesson in letting go of control and trusting the process.
Exactly.
But sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we need to seize the moment
Mm-hmm.
and act decisively,
Mm-hmm.
which brings us to the idiom strike while the iron is hot.
Ah, yes. The call to action.
This one emphasizes the importance of taking advantage of opportunities when they arise,
Right?
without hesitation or delay. It's
Exactly.
like recognizing that the timing is right and seizing the moment to make something happen.
Yeah.
But why the iron?
Mm.
Where does that imagery come from?
The origin is thought to come from blacksmithing.
Okay,
To shape iron, it needs to be heated to a specific temperature.
right.
If you wait too long, the iron cools and becomes too difficult to work with.
So it's like we need to find that sweet spot in time
Yeah.
when the conditions are right
Right.
and we have the momentum to achieve our goals.
Exactly.
If we hesitate, the opportunity might slip away.
It might.
And that sense of urgency
Mhm.
of recognizing that timing is everything
Mm-hmm.
is captured perfectly in this idiom.
Yep.
I'm loving how these idioms offer practical wisdom disguised as quirky and memorable phrases.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're little nuggets of life advice passed down through generations.
Indeed.
And sometimes those nuggets can be a bit more, shall we say, cynical or even dark.
Right.
Which brings us to another category of idioms,
Okay.
those that deal with deception, manipulation, and hidden agendas.
Ooh, this sounds a bit ominous.
I'm ready to explore the shadowy side of idioms. What do you have for us?
Let's start with a classic.
Okay.
A wolf in sheep's clothing.
Ooh, that one gives me chills.
Yeah.
It conjures up images of someone pretending to be harmless
Right.
while secretly harboring malicious intentions.
Exactly.
It's a warning to be wary of those who appear friendly or innocent
Mm-hmm.
because their true motives might be far more sinister.
Precisely.
It describes someone who disguises their true nature to deceive or exploit others.
Right.
And the origin of this idiom is thought to come from Aesop's fables, specifically the story of the wolf, who disguises himself as a sheep to gain access to the flock and prey on them.
Exactly.
It's a timeless tale that reminds us that appearances can be deceiving,
Yes.
and we should always be cautious of those who seem too good to be true.
Mm.
But how do we spot a wolf in sheep's clothing?
Yeah.
Are there any linguistic clues that can help us?
Well, sometimes their words might contradict their actions,
Okay.
or there might be subtle inconsistencies in their stories.
Right.
It's important to pay attention to both verbal and nonverbal cues,
Yep.
and to trust your intuition if something feels off.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to another idiom that captures the art of manipulation.
Okay.
Pull the wool over someone's eyes.
Ah, yes, the classic act of deception.
This idiom means to trick or mislead someone, often by distracting them or presenting a false image of reality.
Exactly.
It's like creating a smokescreen to hide your true intentions,
Right.
making someone believe something that isn't true.
Yeah.
But where does the wool come into play?
The origin of this phrase is thought to come from the practice of wearing wigs made of wool,
Ooh.
which could be pulled down over someone's eyes to temporarily blind them.
So it's like using language to metaphorically blind someone to the truth.
Right.
You're preventing them from seeing what's really going on
Yeah,
by distracting them with something else.
exactly.
And this idiom is a reminder that we should always be critical thinkers,
Yes.
questioning what we see and hear,
Mm-hmm.
and not taking things at face value.
Right.
There might be someone trying to pull the wool over our eyes, so it's important to be vigilant and discerning.
It is.
It's a valuable lesson in media literacy and navigating a world where information can be easily manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be aware of the techniques used to deceive us
Right.
and develop the skills to see through the smoke screens.
Indeed.
And speaking of subtle manipulation,
Yeah.
let's move on to an idiom that captures the act of influencing someone's thoughts or actions in a less overt way. Whisper in someone's ear.
Oh, this one sounds sneaky.
It evokes images of secrets being shared and agendas being subtly pushed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like planting a seed of an idea and hoping it takes root.
Right?
But why whisper?
Yeah.
What makes it so effective?
The act of whispering itself suggests intimacy and secrecy,
Right.
which can make the information shared seem more persuasive or alluring.
It's like we're more likely to trust and believe something that's shared in a hushed, confidential tone.
Exactly.
It feels like an exclusive piece of information, something we're privileged to know.
Right.
And this idiom is a reminder that we should always be aware of the subtle ways in which others can influence us,
Mm-hmm.
even through seemingly innocuous means.
Exactly.
We need to be mindful of the messages we receive,
Yeah.
even those whispered in our ears, and to always question the motives behind them.
Good advice.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little paranoid.
Yeah.
Are all idioms secretly trying to manipulate us?
Maybe.
Maybe we need a little bit of levity to lighten the mood.
I agree.
What about some idioms that deal with the more lighthearted and humorous aspects of human nature?
An excellent suggestion.
Okay, I'm ready for a good laugh.
Right.
What do you have for us?
Let's start with one that captures the act of making a foolish mistake.
Okay.
Put your foot in your mouth.
Ooh, I've definitely done this one before.
Yeah.
It's like when you say something awkward, embarrassing, or offensive without thinking, and then immediately regret it.
Right.
It's like tripping over your words and landing face first in a social faux pas.
A vivid image indeed.
And while the exact origin of this phrase is unknown,
Yeah.
it's likely a metaphor based on the physical act of accidentally putting your foot in your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
which would be both awkward and unpleasant.
It would be.
I can just imagine the looks of horror and amusement on the faces of those who witness such a blunder.
I can too.
Okay, what about an idiom that captures a sense of playful mischief?
Okay.
You know, like when someone is up to no good,
Yeah.
but in a harmless, fun-loving way.
How about monkey business?
Perfect.
Okay.
That one always makes me think of mischievous primates swinging from the trees,
Right.
causing a ruckus.
Yeah.
It's like that feeling of childlike glee
Uh-huh.
when you pull off a harmless prank or get away with something you shouldn't.
Exactly.
And the origin of this phrase is thought to come from the observation of monkeys,
Yes.
who are known for their playful and often mischievous antics.
Right.
Like we're channeling our inner primates, embracing a bit of chaos and amusement in our daily lives.
That's one way to put it.
Okay, what about an idiom that captures a sense of boldness and daring?
Okay.
You know, like when someone takes charge and faces a challenge head on.
How about take the bull by the horns?
Ooh, I love this one.
Yeah.
It evokes images of courage and determination, of refusing to back down from a difficult situation. But why the bull?
Mm-hmm.
Where does that imagery come from?
The origin is thought to come from the practice of bullfighting,
Oh, okay.
where the bullfighter must grab the bull by the horns in order to control and subdue it.
So it's like we're metaphorically grabbing our problems by the horns,
Exactly.
refusing to let them control us.
Yeah.
We're taking charge of the situation and steering it in the direction we want it to go.
Right.
And that sense of empowerment, of taking control rather than being controlled,
Mm-hmm.
is captured perfectly in this idiom.
It is.
It's a reminder that sometimes we need to be bold and decisive
Yeah.
to face our fears and take risks in order to achieve our goals.
No need.
And sometimes that requires us to step outside of our comfort zone and try something new.
Right.
Which brings us to the idiom, take the plunge.
Ooh, this one sounds both exhilarating and a little bit scary.
It evokes images of diving into the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
embracing the thrill of the unknown.
Right.
But why the plunge?
Yeah.
What are we diving into?
The idiom means to commit to a course of action,
Okay.
often one that involves risk or uncertainty without overthinking or hesitation.
So it's like taking a leap of faith,
Yeah.
trusting that you'll land on your feet, even if you're not entirely sure what lies ahead.
Exactly. Why the plunge?
Yeah.
What kind of plunge are we talking about?
The origin of this phrase is thought to come from the act of diving into water, which requires a certain level of trust and surrender to the element.
It's like we're surrendering to the unknown,
Yeah.
trusting that we'll be able to navigate the waters, even if we can't see the bottom.
Precisely.
And that sense of trust and surrender is essential when we're taking risks and stepping outside of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Can't always know what the outcome will be,
Right.
but we have to trust that we'll be able to handle whatever comes our way.
Exactly.
That's a great reminder.
It is.
Okay, what about an idiom that captures the feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment?
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like when you've worked hard and achieved something you're proud of.
How about pat yourself on the back?
Perfect.
Okay.
It's like acknowledging your own efforts and giving yourself credit for a job well done.
Right?
But why pat yourself on the back? Is
Yeah.
it because no one else is going to do it for you? Well, sometimes we do need to be our own cheerleaders.
Right.
But the idiom is more about recognizing and celebrating our own achievements.
Okay.
It's a reminder to acknowledge our successes,
Yeah.
big and small,
Right.
and to give ourselves credit for the effort we've put in.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the next goal, the next challenge, that we forget to pause and appreciate what we've already accomplished.
Right.
Pat yourself on the back is a great reminder to celebrate those wins,
Yeah,
no matter how big or small.
exactly.
And sometimes those wins are the result of hard work, perseverance, and even a bit of sacrifice.
Right.
Which brings us to the idiom, blood, sweat, and tears.
Ooh, this one sounds intense.
It evokes images of pushing oneself to the limit,
Yeah.
giving everything you've got to achieve a goal.
Right.
It's like pouring your heart and soul into a project, leaving no stone unturned.
Mm-hmm.
But why blood, sweat, and tears?
Yeah.
Is it really that dramatic?
The origin of this phrase is thought to come from the literal shedding of blood, sweat, and tears during physical exertion or battle.
So it's like we're metaphorically shedding those bodily fluids as we strive towards our goals.
Right.
We're putting in the effort, enduring the pain, and pushing through the challenges to reach the finish line.
Exactly.
And that sense of dedication and sacrifice is captured perfectly in this idiom.
It is.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful achievements come at a cost, but the rewards can be worth the effort.
They can.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
It's like all these seemingly random phrases are actually deeply connected to human experiences, to the way we work, play, communicate,
Right.
and make sense of the world around us.
Precisely.
And that's what makes idioms so fascinating.
Yeah.
They're not just linguistic quirks.
Right.
They're windows into the human psyche.
Exactly.
This has been such an eye-opening journey. I feel like I'm seeing these everyday phrases in a whole new light.
That's what we were hoping for.
But before we wrap up our idiom adventure, I'm curious, what's your favorite idiom?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I'm rather fond of two heads are better than one,
Okay.
as it highlights the power of collaboration and the value of diverse perspectives.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're stronger together and that sharing ideas and working collaboratively can lead to more creative and effective solutions.
Indeed.
And it's a fitting idiom to conclude our exploration, as we've seen how the collective wisdom of generations has shaped the language we use today.
Well said.
But before we officially sign off, I have one more question for our listeners.
Okay.
If you could create a new idiom to describe modern life, what would it be?
That's a fascinating challenge.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what our listeners come up with.
Right.
Perhaps their creations will become the idioms of the future,
Yeah.
reflecting the unique challenges and experiences of our time.
I'm sure they'll be brilliant. Okay, we'll be back in a moment to wrap up our idiom exploration and to share some of your creative idiom inventions.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we went to the break, we asked you to create a new idiom
Right.
to describe modern life.
Yeah,
And now I am excited to hear what you came up with.
me too.
So let's imagine for a moment that we're like linguistic time travelers peering into the future of language.
Okay.
What phrases will people use to describe their experiences 100 years from now?
That's a fascinating thought experiment.
Yeah.
Perhaps they'll have idioms related to virtual reality,
Okay.
artificial intelligence, or space travel.
Like what?
Maybe they'll say things like to have your avatar glitch to describe a social blunder,
Oh.
or to reach escape velocity to describe a breakthrough moment.
Ooh, I like those.
Yeah.
To have your avatar glitch,
Uh-huh.
that perfectly captures the awkwardness and the potential for miscommunication in a virtual world and
Exactly.
to reach escape velocity.
Yeah.
That speaks to the ambition and drive to break free from limitations.
Right.
Well, before we get too carried away with future idioms,
Yeah.
let's take a moment to appreciate the linguistic treasures that we've uncovered today.
Okay.
We've journeyed from ancient Greece
Mm-hmm.
to the world of 19th century cakewalks,
Right.
uncovering the surprising origins of everyday phrases.
Exactly.
We've explored how idioms, from burning the midnight oil to climbing the corporate ladder, reflect not only historical practices, but also evolving attitudes towards work and ambition.
That's right.
And we've delved into the darker side of language, uncovering idioms that reveal the subtle ways in which deception and manipulation can be woven into our everyday conversations.
It's been a fascinating exploration
Yeah.
of how seemingly simple phrases can carry centuries of history,
Right.
culture, and even psychology within them.
I feel like I've gained a whole new level of awareness of the language I use every day.
Good.
It's like I'm seeing these familiar phrases with fresh eyes,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the stories and the history embedded in each word.
That's precisely what we hope to achieve with this deep dive. Yeah.
To encourage a sense of curiosity and appreciation for the richness and complexity of language.
So, listener, what are your biggest takeaways from this deep dive? What phrases will you be paying closer attention to?
Right.
And more importantly, what new idioms will you be creating to describe your own experiences?
We encourage you to embrace the playfulness of language, to experiment with new expressions, and to share your linguistic creations with the world.
After all, language is a living, breathing thing,
Yes.
constantly evolving and adapting.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe your idiom will be the one that captures the spirit of our times and becomes a part of everyday speech for generations to come.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of idioms.
Okay.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey of linguistic discovery.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, may your conversations be filled with colorful expressions
Yes.
and your curiosity about language continue to flourish.
See you next time.